today. Cheers. Jared's Killer Cream Ale. It is beautiful. Really is a nice drop. I've done a video on this. Check it out. It's a great beer. Anyway, today I'm going to brew a quick extract beer using a Cooper's Stout. I'm going to add some dark malt liquid extract, which could be substituted for powdered extract if that's what you have to use, and a bit of chocolate in the form of cacao powder. This is pure raw organic cacao powder, nothing else added. You can use normal cocoa powder. Just check what's in it and make sure it's 100% cocoa powder, and get the fat content as low as you can go. This is 12%, and it just happened to be the cheapest one I could find, had the lowest fat content, and that's what you want. You want as the least amount of fat in it as you can, and 100% cocoa powder. You could also use a chocolate essence. You'd use about, this is a natural chocolate essence. Check the ingredients, there's nothing else added. In this it says there's a little bit of alcohol and a little bit of vanilla extract and a bit of water, and the rest is chocolate essence. I'd probably use, you sort of taste this as you add it. I'd add this last, since it's an essence, and taste as you go. Maybe start with 50 ml or something like that in a 23 litre, 5-6 gallon batch, and taste as you go. And the other thing I'm using this time is proper vanilla pods, vanilla beans. I've got 2 different sorts, and I've got 4 pods. I'm going to boil some in the boil for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to add these as a secondary, like a late addition later on. I'm also adding 200 grams of chocolate malt, as in grain chocolate malt, and I'm going to do a steep with that. I'm doing a cold steep, not a warm steep, just because it's so easy, and I just didn't have the time today to do anything else. I've done a full video on the cold steep process. I'll put a link up for that here now, if you want to see it in a little bit more detail and how I do it, but it's a pretty easy process. If you don't want to use the cold steep process with your chocolate malt specialty grains, just do it the normal way you would, with some warm water, and let it sit for half an hour and strain it. But anyway, I'll quickly show the steeping process and how I strained it, and get it ready to get on the stove for the boil. The chocolate malt into a saucepan. Straight in with your grain. Put a lid on it and whack it in the fridge overnight. So there it is there. Look at that water. Got all the colour in. Give it a mix up. So now I've got another pot that I'm going to boil it in. So all I do is strain it, same as you would if you've done a hot steep. Now I've got a jug of hot water, kettle of hot water, that I boiled probably 20 minutes ago. I'll use about half of this, about a litre, just to rinse out the rest of the goodness out of that grain. That's it, done. You're ready to boil that, and the resulting tea, green tea or liquor, whatever you want to call it, is on the stove now, coming to the boil. I've also got my extract cans in the sink there, just warming up in some warm water, just so they pour more easily. So the normal Cooper's Stout, and that's 1 kilo of dark malt extract. You could use any sort of malt extract in this. I'm just going for a really dark and heavy beer. So while the water from my steep is coming up to the boil, I'll weigh out my 100 grams of cacao powder, and I'll split my vanilla beans. 100 grams. So with these vanilla beans, I'll probably only use one of these big ones in the boil. It's only going to be a 10-minute boil. Oh, I'll tell you what, that vanilla smells good. I'll just split it down the middle because all the flavour's in the seeds in the middle. There you go. It's all in that black mucky stuff. That'll do. It's just, you can see that. The water from the steep. It's been boiling for 5 minutes. I'm just going to add the vanilla and the cocoa powder and let it boil for another 10 minutes just to make sure there's no bugs or anything in there and to sanitize everything. So there goes the vanilla bean. And I'll stir in the 100 grams of cacao powder. Give it a good stir. Smells like a hot chocolate. I'll let that come back to the boil, and as I said, about 10 minutes, that'll all be sanitized. Okay, that's been boiling for that other 10 minutes now, just to sanitize, make sure that cacao powder was sanitized and the vanilla bean is sanitized. Take it off the heat, turn the heat off. So I have the sanitized fermenter here. Don't worry about the foam, as they always say. Don't fear the foam. That's what's just been boiling on the stove. I'm just going to pour the whole lot in. Just like that, vanilla bean and all. Next is the can of Cooper's Stout. I've got a little helper here. Hey Jenna, don't touch, please.
Well, you don't.
Don't touch that.
Oh, it's black. Oh, it's black.
It is black, isn't it?
It's very big. Not thin, just black.
Give that a stir. It's very hot, Jenna. Next is the can of dark malt extract. As I said, that can be swapped with some dried malt extract if you like. You could add a kilo of light malt, dry malt extract, whatever you like. Oops, splash. Make a mess, haven't I? Oh, sorry.
But I got the one. Seems to myself. Good job. Good job.
Good job.
Good job. That's fishing. One more time. Next one.
And just stir that in. And of course, the next thing is just to fill it up with some cold water. And I've also done my usual trick of having a 2-litre bottle of water in the fridge, cold, clean water, and I'll add that just to help bring the temperature down to pinching temp. And some more water. Don't touch.
Oh, that's my baby. Look, now it makes black.
Mix it up.
Looks like it could be here. You like it yellow?
Oh?
Got yellow.
Yellow? That's not yellow.
It's black.
It's black, that's right. Very black, isn't it?
Oh, that's good.
And that's it. Now how much water you add is up to you. I filled it up to the 22 litre mark, so that's about 4.5% alcohol it will turn out to be. If you fill it up to the 19 litre mark, you know, you're looking at over 5%, a little, you know, 5.5 maybe, depending on how far it ferments out. So that's up to you. Now all I've got to do with that, it's very hot here at the moment, so that groundwater was really warm. I should have put more water in the fridge. I've just got to wait till that comes down to pitching temp. I'll put that in my fermentation fridge and it'll only take half an hour or so to get down to pitching temp. I'm just going to use Cooper's yeast for this one. It's a big, meaty, flavoursome beer. I don't need any specialty yeasts to add any flavours. I could have added some more hops near the end there, or even dry hop, but I'm not going to because I want the chocolate and the vanilla to shine through rather than any hop. There's enough bitterness there from the pre-hopped Cooper's can to add the bitterness for the beer. I don't need any more. Now the only other thing I'm going to do is get some vanilla pods ready. So there's the vanilla pods. I'll just simply split them like that.
Wow.
And like that.
Here's around.
I'll put them back into the vial.
Back in the vial. I guess ready.
And I'm going to fill the vial with vodka. Whoop, don't spill that goodness. Just like that, it's a chock-a-block full of vodka. Might be a bit hard to see. Screw the lid on. Give it a good shake. And what that vodka will do is just sanitize those vanilla beans. So I can add them to the secondary without having to worry about any yeast infections or anything like that that could be on the vanilla pods. That also makes it awesome vodka. If you've got a bottle of vodka and add a couple of, and you like vanilla, you can add a couple of vanilla pods to a bottle of vodka and let it sit there for a couple of weeks. Same thing, give it a shake every now and then, and you'll have an awesome brew. You can also, you know, you could put half a dozen in a bottle, and if you like that vanilla flavour in your beers, you can just add a nip or two. The longer you leave it, the stronger the vanilla flavour is going to get in the vodka. And then when you come to, you can even leave it to kegging. It's not going to go off. Vodka's like you know, it's a natural a sanitizer. So, but you'll have vodka flavour, so you can just add that to your keg and keep tasting until it you get the amount of vanilla flavour that you want. But so anyway, as I said, that fermenter's done, finished. The rest of it that goes into the fermented fridge. I'll pitch the yeast later once it's at pitching temp. I'll brew that at about 19 degrees Celsius.
No, not so.
And or even 20. It's not going to hurt so much on a big dark beer like this. And after about 5 or 6 days, once the fermentation slows right down, if I use a secondary, I'd rack it into the secondary on top of these, or I'll just pour this into the fermenter and let it go. Anyway, and this will be another recipe to just show you, especially this one, that you can brew some nice beers with extract.
Nice beers?
Nice beers, that's right. So we're in the fridge now. It's cooled down. It's getting down to around 20 degrees. I've got the pack of yeast that came with it, Cooper's, and I've got another packet of Cooper's yeast. Because usually when I brew these cans, I use a different yeast. For stout, that's not that important. This is big flavours. It'll be fine with these Cooper's yeasts. So I'm going to put both of them in. I'm just going to sprinkle them on the top. I'm not even going to stir these ones in. Both of them off at the same time. And just sprinkle it on top. Done. It's been 8 days fermenting now, and I think I said before I was going to soak these vanilla beans in vodka, which I did do, but then I was going to secondary on top of them, and you use the vodka just to sterilise them, and it brings out the flavour too. Make sure you have vanilla extract. But it's been 8 days. The ferment is over. It's a stout. I don't really need to do anything to clarify it. You know, it's going to be black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it just to see how much vanilla went in from the 10-minute boil I did with it, and the bean that's been sitting in there for a week. And if it needs some more, I'm going to pour in some of this. I won't put it all in because this would be pretty strong now. I might pour in about a half to a third. There's not much in here, but half to a third. Then I'm going to crash chill it for a couple of days. I mean, you don't have to do that, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to crash chill it for a couple of days, and then I'm going to whack it in the keg. When I whack it in the keg, I'll taste it again, and if it needs some more vanilla, I can always add a bit more of this. So there it is, after 8 days. The krausen's gone. I'd say it's finished. I'm just going to give it a taste. First thing I'll do is turn the ferment around without trying to disturb it too much, just to get the tap to the front so I can access it easily. And I'll just empty some of the yeast. There'll be a bit of yeast in the tap and muck. Just empty a bit of that out. This tap's pretty good for it. Other taps you might have to take a little bit more out. I don't want to just taste the yeast, so I'll put a bit more of the next lot in this glass. Just give that a taste. After that, I'll also spray some Star Sen into the tap, just to wash it out and make sure no bugs grow in it. It's fairly dark. Give it a taste, eh? I can taste it. I can smell the chocolate, whether that be from the malt or the chocolate I put in there. It's hard to tell. It's like coffee from the dark malt. The vanilla's not really coming through in the aroma yet. Give it a taste. Very rich, as you'd expect. Now, they can have a bit more vanilla in it, without a doubt. So I'm going to pour some in, see how we go, eh? Open up this. This just reeks of vanilla. You can nearly smell it through the plastic. It is strong. It smells good. And I'm just going to pour a bit in and hope for the best, eh? So I end up putting in just over half, and we'll see how that goes in a day or two when I keg it. Okay, got my fermenter here. I just took a sample and tasted it. It's very chocolatey, but I just wanted to have a chocolatey. Are you there? Sorry, it's my daughter. Chocolatey. I just wanted to add some more vanilla flavour to it. I've still got this, so I topped it up with a bit more vodka.
Vodka?
Yeah, vodka. And I'm just going to add this straight, not the beans, but I'm just going to pour the liquid straight into the keg and rack the beer on top of it. Okay, so there's me sanitised keg. It's got a bit of aluminium foil on it because I'm just about to fill it up. And before I do, I'm just going to pour this little bit of vanilla vodka in. With a little bit of help from my daughter. So that'll do. You don't have to throw those away. You can still fill that up with vodka and use it for another thing, your own vanilla essence or whatever you want to do with it. Pour it in.
I'll push it.
Alright.
What's it?
So there it is, all kegged up now. It's only been in the keg a couple of days, so it's not quite carbonated as it should be, but I don't like my beers over carbonated anyway. Head's sticking around. Chocolate, chocolate. Slight coffee. It's a little bit cold. Oh wow. Oh wow, you can really taste the chocolate in there. As I said, I'd never used that cacao before. Wow. I'm guessing it's coming from that because I only used 200 grams of chocolate malt. Oh, you can taste the chocolate malt as well though. And the vanilla's there very slightly, and that's what I wanted. I only wanted the vanilla there slightly. I have a feeling once it warms up a bit, the vanilla will shine through a little bit more. But I actually, because cocoa and chocolate is very bitter, that's the reason I put the vanilla in, to sweeten it up a little bit. Just to give more of that natural chocolate taste, you know. When you have cocoa, you have it sugar to make it sweet, or I do anyway. And so that's why I added it to the beer. I didn't want a strong, overpowering vanilla taste in my beer. I'm not a fan of that. So if you wanted a really strong vanilla taste in it, you could probably add a little bit more. Maybe even 2 beans into the boil instead of just the one I put. But overall, that is a very nice beer. I can't taste any extract twang. It's a little thin in the body, but I didn't want it really thick. But oh geez, the flavour's there. It's as black as. There's no light coming through there. It's black. That's nice, that is really nice. Come out better than I expected, to tell you the truth. Just a nice light carbonation. You don't want a super fizzy stout. Well, I don't anyway. You can carb up yours more if you do. It's got a little bit of lacing. Don't know if you'll pick it up in this light. That's nice. I think, you know, more seasoned stout drinkers would probably up the alcohol a little bit too. But I wanted it to be a drinking stout. I didn't want to only have 1 or 2 glasses. I wanted to have half a dozen. That's why I kept mine alcohol a little bit low in mine. That's very nice. Very nice. I reckon that's another extract I'll be able to trick my all grain mates with. I don't think they'll be able to pick that as an extract, to tell you the truth. Anyway, cheers. I'm going to do this quick because this video is long enough as it is. But cheers, there you go, from fermenter to glass. Cheers. Might have another one.